You know, even I sometimes feel a little bit of shame or sometimes even some significant shame around even my eating behaviors, even till today. I first got off sugar, and did my detox from sugar 25 years ago. And since then, you know, most for the, let's say, almost all of those 25 years, except maybe 1 year of relapse in the middle, um, almost all of those 25 years, I've been sugar free. I've been completely off, sugar. I haven't slipped or, inadvertently eaten sugar or flour for years now. Maybe it's like 5, 6, 7 years. I'm not the type of person who counts my days of recovery, but it's been a really long time. And yet, there are sometimes days or instances or circumstances or things that happen where my eating is not optimal. And as a matter of fact, it's in a way that I know it shouldn't be. And yes, the feeling of shame comes up. Like, I know better. My clients say that to me all the time, right? If they have a slip or a relapse, they'll say, I was so ashamed of myself afterwards because I really know better, especially after I've been through your program at GPS to Sugar Free. And I know and I know all the reasons why I shouldn't have done it, and I did it anyway, and I'm just feeling so ashamed of myself. Now, here's the thing. To have feelings of shame around food and eating behaviors and body image is very, very common. And it's something that, to really overcome it, to really like that it shouldn't come up at all, is somebody who's felt that significantly and suffered from it significantly over the course of their life for many, many years. It's like a really big feat. And people who can do that, wow, I really hats off to them, because that takes very intense inner work and this huge open mindedness to like really have significant change from within. I can tell you personally, shame was like this feeling that I had around eating and food since I was a little girl, because I got such mixed and confused messages about weight and eating behaviors and body image from both my parents. It was like when I was a teenager, I would take like a piece of bread and put some butter on it. And while I'm spreading the butter, like my dad's like, "Are you sure you really want to eat that?" And then my mother's like forcing us to finish our food on our plates. But on the other hand, it's like constantly looking at the clothes to see if they make my butt look big, or is it slimming to my waist or not. And, talking about losing weight and taking me to a dietitian like at age 12 when I wasn't even really fat. So there's a lot. And you know what? It doesn't necessarily come from our parents. It can come from some well meaning nurse or doctor or a teacher or an uncle or an aunt or some boy in class at school when we were kids, or some girl who made a nasty remark. Of shame around our bodies, around eating. And yet, on the one hand, everybody's supposed to be eating well and healthy in moderation, and everybody's like, blasting these messages at us: do sports, eat less, da, 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 da. And in the meantime, 24/7, we're being bombarded with these aggressive marketing messages, how it's going to make us happy, and it's going to make us zen, it's so delicious. And at every party and every place, there's like tons of these hyper stimulating, hyper delicious foods, and you're expected to like moderate yourself only every single time, like, every hour, like at work, whatever it is. So what I'm trying to say is we have so much mixed messages and so much confusion and so much crap around eating behavior and body image and in eating healthy, that really it's no wonder that, first of all, sometimes people mess up. And second of all, sometimes people feel ashamed of the way they're eating or what they ate or how they ate it or how they look sometimes, especially. But body image is a whole other message. I'm talking about more around eating, right? And people feel ashamed. And I can tell you that I felt so ashamed that I would never talk about it. I would hide my eating, right? Like, when I got first into my food, when sugar recovery, when I became a recovered food addict, and I finally admitted to my husband what I used to eat, he was in shock, like, because I would never do it around him. I was way too ashamed to do that. So shame is a feeling that can come up, and it can come up even for people who after many years have been in recovery, and if something has happened, and sometimes it's something big and sometimes it isn't even something so big, and like this like full blown relapse. It can sometimes be just something like, I ate something that wasn't exactly on my food plan. Maybe I ate too quickly, maybe I ate in a way that, like, I know is not so good for me. Whatever it is, and then this feeling of shame comes up because it's something that's like so ingrained in my history. And I think that, if you can relate to this, give a like or a heart or something, even if you're just watching the recording, because I think this is something that many people, especially people who struggle with their eating behavior, with their eating habits, with their metabolic health, with weight, can really relate to something like that. So maybe my first message to you about this is, you don't have to be ashamed if sometimes feelings of shame come up, because it can be a very natural reaction. And it also comes from the places in our brain where we have much less control over what we are feeling. So if feelings of shame come up, that happens. It can be, when my clients say to me, I feel so ashamed, I say to them, you know what, that's a pretty natural reaction many times, or that will many times will be our first reaction to something bad that's happened around our eating behaviors. But now the million-calorie question is, what happens after those feelings of shame come up? So here's some tips for you. First of all, acknowledge it. You're feeling ashamed, acknowledge it. Trying to stuff it down or saying I shouldn't be feeling that way because because I've done all this inner work, or because I've done a program, I've been in Sippy's GPS to sugar free, whatever it is. It's like you say, like, or you've been to like psychotherapy for like 20 years, I shouldn't be feeling ashamed. Well, shame comes up, just acknowledge it, and from a place of curiosity, not from a place of judgmentalism. And then remember that we're all human, right? And we all screw up sometimes. And sometimes we'll screw up even when it comes to food, even when we know better, even if we're off sugar, whatever it is, it can happen. And one of the things I always tell my clients is, you do not have to be perfect in order to succeed. And this is something that is true regarding the feelings that come up for us and the way we behave. So accepting our imperfections is a big part, in my eyes, of a sugar-free journey and of recovering from addictive eating or addictive or bad eating behaviors, and really, changing the way we think and talk and relate to food and our eating behaviors. So I always, I heard this once in a program that I was in, where she said, be soft on yourself, right? Because I don't know anyone who really has been hard on themselves and self-punishing and like just coming down on themselves, and has actually been able to make a lasting change in their eating, behavior and their relationship with food by doing that, by coming down on themselves only harder so that they'll do better next time. It doesn't really work that way. So first of all, be soft on yourself. And then here's the thing. Many times what happens is, when feelings of shame come up, that's a very uncomfortable feeling. And I can tell you that as a food addict, right, the first thought that comes to me when I'm feeling uncomfortable inside is, let's fix it with food, with more food, right? Because that's my automatic go-to, is like, if I want to change the way I'm feeling, hey, this thought comes into my brain, like, food's going to do it. So if I know that, but I know that that's really fake, right? It's a lie, and that's a fake thought. If we adopt non-food ways or non-food strategies to overcome this feeling of shame, right? Then even if that thought comes up, we won't necessarily act on it. And that's changing that inner talk and that inner dialogue regarding feelings and how I deal with feelings like shame. So, first of all, there's a lot of things that we can do to help overcome that feeling of shame. Call a friend, talk about it, journal, mindfulness or meditation, even sometimes like just doing something that's like completely different. I'm in a certain circumstance, like going outside and going for a walk. It like breaks that thought sequence of I'm feeling ashamed, I'm very uncomfortable inside, let's fix it, let's eat. Right. And then you eat and then you feel more ashamed and then you feel more, even more uncomfortable inside. And then, right, then we go into like this vicious circle. So it's very important when it comes to uncomfortable feelings to really hone skills that are not food related in order to be able to deal with them when they come up. And in order to do that, it's very important to develop these skills not at the moment that the shame comes up, because then like, it's we're more on like autopilot. So we need those things very available and handy. And if, like any tool or any skill, if you don't use it and you don't practice it, then it's not available to you when you actually need it. Right. So it's very important to try to develop these habits. So maybe think of just one that you relate to. If it's like to journal every day about feelings, or maybe some people use prayer, right? To pray to God or their higher power or whatever it is, to help remove certain feelings. Or maybe it'll be, that I know that I send a WhatsApp when I'm feeling uncomfortable. Many times I will send a WhatsApp to a friend or my mentor or one of my mentors, and I won't just leave it me with myself, because when I talk about it with somebody else, when I take myself outside myself, then many times it's much easier for me to get over these uncomfortable feelings. So here are a lot of things, but the important thing is not to use food. Even, I always say if you eat a carrot because you're feeling uncomfortable, and then you eat a carrot to like sort of self-soothe. So today it's a carrot and tomorrow it's a date and the day after that, and like, then it becomes a cookie and gallons of ice cream or whatever it is. So the whole idea that, and this is really people who really feel like their eating behaviors are really problematic for them, or they want to lose weight and they want to change their eating habits, or balance out their diabetes, or they're pre-diabetic and don't want to develop diabetes, or maybe they have diabetes in their family, or somebody had diabetes when she was pregnant and she knows that she has higher chances of getting it. She wants to change her eating behaviors, in order to like prevent metabolic syndrome, or all, the way we eat affects so much how, our health and our feelings and how we, so the idea is, right, that it's not enough just to change what you eat, how you eat, when you eat. It's very, very important to change that inner dialogue, right, around food, and that relationship around food. So somebody asks here, and thank you very much for putting up why do people want to lose weight? Well, a lot of people want to lose weight for very different reasons, and that's maybe a whole blog within itself. But once somebody wants to lose weight, for many, many people who come to me to change their eating habits, whether it be for weight loss or for their health, or just because they don't like the way they feel about how they're eating, and it has nothing to do with their weight. If they want that change to be a lasting change, it can't be just changing the eating habits itself. It has to be changing that whole inner dialogue and that whole relationship, and how we talk, that self-talk, and how we think about using food or eating it, and why we eat it. So these are things that are very important, and especially when it comes to when feelings of shame come up. Because I don't know about you guys, but I can tell you from my own personal experience, when it's shame, it is super uncomfortable. It is so uncomfortable that I want it to go away right away. But if I don't relent and don't, to that first reactions, and I take a moment to pause and to think about, and recognize what I'm feeling, and then using the skills that I have developed. And it takes time, absolutely, but it's knowing, which skills and which tools work for you, right? And for that, many people will go to different programs or professionals, to develop those skills. Then I have them at hand, and it's very important that those tools and skills be not food related. So if you have any special tips or skills or tools that you use to help you get over uncomfortable feelings, or if you'd like to, share a little bit about what instances maybe does shame come up for you regarding food and eating habits, please put it in the comments below if you're watching the live now or if you're watching the recording at a later date. And I would like to make a very, very special announcement at the end right now that we are at the end of this live. And that is that I have launched a new digital mini course called the Sugar Detox Starter Kit. This mini course is meant for people who maybe want to do a sugar detox and are having trouble getting started because maybe they need like a kind of kick from behind or some motivation, or maybe they're just thinking about doing it, but they don't know where to start or what that means even, or somebody who, just it's really this mini course. It's a short course that motivates you and also gives you the first steps, what to do to prepare for a sugar detox, and what to anticipate and how to begin the sugar detox, the first steps you need to do before and during the first days or the first week or two of the sugar detox. So there's tons of information in this mini course. It is packed with bonus materials and infographics and things that you can download and PDFs and videos that you can listen to. And it's gotten amazing feedback from the people who have already done it. And now it is at a very special early bird price. So if you are thinking of doing it, click on the link that's somewhere around here and check it out, because it is really a goldmine of information in a small mini course. And I invite you to get into the link and get some more information about it. And you may actually want to buy it because right now it's at a really, really great price. So have a wonderful afternoon, a great evening, and thank you very much for watching this. And I will see you next Monday at 7 p.m. This is our new time and day on Sippy Live. Bye-bye.